Hi, my name is Fatima, and I'm going to be presenting these items: the 2 weeks instruction course sample, a walk through the course sample, and assessment of students and teachers. The subject we chose for our 2 week course was science for 10th graders. The topic was the effect of climate change on the ocean. We chose a problem based learning format. The reason for choosing PBL was that a study by Watson and Groh has shown that with PBL, students develop intellectual curiosity, confidence, and engagement that leads to them becoming lifelong learners. The learning objectives in the course: students will understand and explain the effects of rising atmospheric carbon dioxide. Students will use a virtual lab bench to conduct an experiment. Students will analyze data and explore the possible effects of ocean acidification. Students will create a product to instruct 6th grade students on ocean acidification. They will evaluate this product and that of two peer groups. Let's take a tour of the course in the LMS. The LMS is Schoology. It's a blended course, a combination of face-to-face and online. Let's go on over to Schoology. Here we have the description of the Ocean Acidification Unit in a nutshell. In this 2 week unit, students learn the basics of OA, why it matters to what lives in the ocean, and why it matters to us. In particular, they examine the impact of OA on the sea urchin. They learn its anatomy, what eats it, and they use the microscope to work on a lab. This is a virtual lab that they perform on the baby sea urchins known as larvae. They collect and analyze data and they make conclusions about how ocean acidification may affect the sea urchin larvae. This lab is done completely online. They maintain a lab notebook, they set up the lab, they collect data, and they analyze the data in the graphs. They also create a formal lab report of what they did, what they used, how they did it, and how it turned out, and what they would do differently anytime. Even though it is done online, they do not miss out in any way on the scientific knowledge acquired. The formal lab report is followed by a discussion prompt in which they discuss their ideas with fellow students and teachers. The discussion prompt, the formal lab report, and the other quizzes that they do over the 2 weeks culminates in a final product in which they demonstrate what they have learned about ocean acidification in an engaging way to capture the attention of 11 to 12-year-olds, that is 6th graders. They make a book or a video, a short story, or a website or an app to teach 6th graders about ocean acidification. They also evaluate the work of their own classmates and they participate in exhibition of projects. The OERs used in our course are mainly the ones found in the Virtual Urchin Project website. This is developed by Stanford University's Hopkins Marine Lab Group with support from the National Science Foundation. It includes tutorials on the ocean and how to measure, and the microscope tutorial, and the anatomy of the sea urchin. Let's go take a look at this. The first item in the online virtual urchin study material site is the interactive study guide where the students step through these slides to understand the basics of ocean acidification. They then move on to tutorials on microscope measurement. They learn how to use a microscope, how to calibrate it, and how to estimate. And then they move on to the main activity, which is the lab, where they measure the growth of the sea urchin larvae in water of increasing acidity. They do the entire lab online. The assessments used in the 2 weeks course, like we saw, they included posts to the discussion board, an online quiz, including some open-ended questions, embedded assessment in the lab that provided immediate feedback. These are the answers they fill as they are doing the lab, a microscope quiz, a lab report journal that they maintain, and the final product that they make for 6th graders and that they evaluate. The student and teacher assessment that happens over the school year is similar to the assessment that takes place in the 2 weeks course. They have similar study guide, online quizzes, labs, and other activities. Student performance will also be monitored by keeping track of how they move from online to in person classroom on a day to day basis, because they toggle between online and in person classroom on a day to day basis. Teachers will be assessed or monitored by using feedback from parents and periodic reviews from students. Since we have children from another country, their performance at the end of every trimester will be compared with that of the Deep Haven students to monitor the effectiveness of the instruction. That brings us to almost the end of the proposal. Anthony will wrap up the presentation with a brief summary. Thank you.